Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hello everybody. How is everybody doing? Thank you for kicking it off with the contributions in the super chat. Thank you, Rashad. Thank you, Malik. And thank you, Miss Beth Shuasa, for today's lecture. Thank you so much. We are going to actually get right into it. Why do I feel like my glass is crooked? Because they are. Yeah, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. With your glasses crooked. Give me 2 hot seconds. My apologies, because we actually gonna jump right into it. I don't have a lot of preliminaries today. Not a lot of preliminaries. All right. Thank you, Clarence. Clarence says, how do you feel about this Women's History Month stuff? By the way, Lori Lightfoot lost her re-election bid. Yes, yeah, I'm glad that Lori Lightfoot has lost the re-election. She was in many ways worse than the dailies. She was in many ways worse than the daily regime. Because the dailies, as corrupt as they was, still tried to run the city somehow. She just failed in every possible way. She just failed in every possible way. Standing there looking like, what's that man name? That worked for Mr. Burns on The Simpsons. I forgot his name. What she standing there looking like? Standing there looking like Mo from The Simpsons. Smithers. Exactly. Standing there looking like Smithers in her granddaddy suit. And somebody's supposed to follow her leadership. You know, just because you somewhere munching carpets, do that mean you got to put on your granddaddy's suit that y'all almost buried him in? This was the other suit. Y'all had two suits y'all was gonna bury him in. That was the other one. So since they ain't choose that one, you got that one. And she would wear them ugly little bowling shoes. Like, girl. Then had the nerve to have like a woman's voice. Her voice was light. For real. Wouldn't comb her head. You know, just an embarrassment. Thank you, TZ Franks. I finally caught you live on time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This ain't no funeral parlor. That's how she was standing there looking. If you know, you know. You know what reference that is. Y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. Well, she's standing there looking. Anyway, let's jump right into this Moynihan report because I can really roast her all day. I can give you a good 20 minutes of roasting her. A good 20 minutes of roasting her. Yes. In them borrowed roller rink shoes she be wearing. You know what? Moynihan report. Okay. So we're going to dive right back into the Moynihan report and black women breaking the black family. Thank you, David Perry. Said, what's good, Sister Kendra? Gonna be making a scary movie this weekend. Wish me well. Oh, you gonna make a movie? You gonna make a movie? Well, Miss Lightfoot is no longer employed in the city of Chicago. She could be your monster. Thank you for that. Thank you, John said Tales from the Hood. He was I'm gonna get you sucker. Yeah, that was my guy. I was sad he passed away because I actually liked his acting quite a bit. So let's talk about this Moynihan report. Yesterday, if you missed yesterday, then you need to go back, because I not only delved into the introduction of the Moynihan report, but I also gave another overview of biology, culture, and environment, which is critical to our understanding of what the Moynihan report actually reported, okay? And why the findings were what they were. Mind you, the Moynihan report was a report that came out in the mid-60s, 1965 to be exact. This is in the middle of the civil rights movement. This is in the middle of second wave feminism. This is in the middle of, John F. Kennedy has been assassinated. All of this type of stuff going on. By the time this report is made public, and even in the 60s and the 70s, Black women pushed back against this report. And as you will be able to understand by listening to what is in the report, especially if you have never read the Moynihan report or you don't know anything about the Moynihan report, then this should be eye-opening for you, especially since we now have terminology and verbiage to describe what this is and what we've been looking at and what we've been through historically as a people. So yesterday I covered a little bit of the introduction, and I covered a little bit of the first chapter of it. We're gonna head into the second chapter. The whole second chapter is a word. This is the part that Black women did not like. Okay? Let me share my screen. All right, we are starting right here, chapter 2. I'm gonna try to make it bigger for y'all. Chapter 2. It starts off with a bang. At the heart of the deterioration of the fabric of Negro society is the deterioration of the Negro family. Boom. If this report don't tell you nothing else, if this report did not have a single sentence to follow that sentiment, then we can understand, even if this was the only thing that you read about what is going on with Black people and what is happening with us as a group, that sentence right there tells you everything that you need to know, if in fact you understand how to comprehend that sentence. At the heart of the deterioration of the fabric of Negro society, that means at the very seams, that means at the very foundation. When you talk about tearing the fabric of something, that means tearing it completely asunder, to the point where if that fabric is completely destroyed, it will be irretrievable and it will be irreparable. Okay? The heart of the deterioration of the fabric of Negro society is the deterioration of the Negro family. The second sentence hits you just upside the head too. It is the fundamental source of weakness of the Negro community at the present time. There is probably no single fact of Negro American life so little understood by whites. That's half a cap right there. That's a half a cap. And the reason why I say that's half a cap is because the biology, culture, and environment is not dominated by Black people in this country. Historically, it has been dominated by white people, and they know exactly what they do. And they don't call it biology, culture, and environment. They call it morals, ethics, and legal. That's what they call it. Morality, ethics, and legal. Morality is biology. Ethics is culture. Legal is environment. Okay? Thank you, Kevin Johnson said. Thank you, Kendra. You are the new BET, Black Education Today. Thank you so much. Now, we're going to start right here because I'm going to come back to you in a little bit. The Negro situation is commonly perceived by whites in terms of the visible manifestation of discrimination and poverty, in part because Negro protest is directed against such obstacles, and in part, no doubt, because these are facts which involve the actions and attitudes of the white community as well. So what is it saying? Okay, the way white people see it, the Negro situation is all environmental. Yes? The way that your basic day-to-day in their own world white person perceives Negro situation or the Negro problem is all within the environment, all within the institution. This is why I'm going to come back to you briefly. This is why when you ask some white people about black people's oppression and things of that nature, they don't feel like it's anything to talk about anymore, because environmentally, they feel like they did level the playing ground. They feel like they did that. Environmentally, it has been level on paper in black and white. You've got equal opportunity in paper on black and white. They can't discriminate against you for being black. On paper in black and white, you can't get discriminated against for loans or housing or food or jobs or careers or not being able to be allowed into certain industries and things of that nature. On paper, the playing ground is level according to them. So they have done their job by having equality of opportunity. Well, we give you school, we give you education. We didn't block you from school no more. You know, we're not saying you're not allowed to read. We're not saying that you're not allowed to move around and have mobility and things of that nature. We're no longer saying that you can't have your spirituality under your own control. We're no longer saying your health can't be under your control. We're no longer saying your family can't be under your control. We're no longer saying your appearance and your dwelling is no longer under your control. We're saying that you now have control over that in an environmental sense, in the sense of the laws and policies of the land. We are not able to restrict you anymore the way that we did during chattel slavery. We are not able to do that by law. They craftily don't mention biology or culture. They don't mention morals or ethics. They only mention legal when they talk about that. When they talk about equality, they only talk about it in the terms of environment. That's it. Thank you, Public Opinion. Said, forgive me if I'm wrong, but the gynocratic mindset is more of a light-skinned mindset. Not too many men are complaining about dark-skinned black women. Thank you, Dusty. Said integration equals assimilation. This don't have nothing to do with light skin, dark skin. It really don't. Not in what I've seen, not in what we've experienced as a group. I would respectfully disagree with that opinion. Okay? So environmentally, this is what they are talking about. I'm going to go back to the report. Okay? So it says, It is more difficult, however, for whites to perceive the effect that 3 centuries of exploitation have had on the fabric of Negro society itself. Here, the consequences of the historic injustices done to the Negro American are silent and hidden from view. Okay? But here is where the true injury has occurred. Unless this damage is repaired, all the effort to end discrimination and poverty and injustice will come to little. I'm gonna stop. The true injury occurred away from the sight of society at large. That much is true. The true injury was the inverting of our value system, the resetting of our value system. That has happened quietly. That was not on display. See, you can't hose down my value system on the street. You don't sick a German Shepherd dog on my value system in the street. You don't lynch my value system. You don't grape my value system. You don't burn my value system down and like you burn down my home. You don't harass my value system. You understand what I'm saying? You don't do that. You don't take away my value system in courts of law. You don't railroad my value system in public. So it happened quietly. That part happened quietly. But that is where the real injury is at. Once we were reset as a people, other demographics can't see that. The power structure that did it know exactly what they did. The individual white people in America couldn't see it either. Okay? They didn't see it either. They're oblivious to it partially because they don't care. All right? They don't care about that. They uphold the system of white supremacy because they have to. Even if they don't agree with it, or even if they don't actively participate in it, there's an upholding of it because that is their culture. Understand that. And they, like any other people, are gonna uphold their culture. We have to understand that. That is why the system of institutional white supremacy or white survivalism has not fallen. And it has not been done away with. That's why it has not been done away with. It still exists. Okay? So, they understand that. The powers that be understand quite well what is happening to black people and why it is happening to black people. So, we're not going to deal with the cap that nobody knows what happened with black people and why we do what we do and why we make the decisions that we make. We're not going to buy that cap. That's cap. Know exactly what happened. Thank you, Dusty. So integration equals individualism, self-absorbed hedonism, disillusionment, which kicked off the moral crisis today. Thank you so much for that. The institution that implemented this, that implemented the Bioculturon event, certainly understood the long-reaching implication of breaking down the black family. So this is why I'm saying it being completely misunderstood and everybody missing that boat, that's cap. Individuals might have missed that boat. The institution did not miss that boat. They understood exactly what that meant. Thank you, Rashad. Said the Racial Integrity Act of 1924 got us where we at as we speak. unless the family is fixed, this is what the report's saying, unless the family is fixed, all efforts to end discrimination, to end poverty, and to end injustice will come to little. Why did it say that? Why is it saying that? Let me illustrate the 10 life values to you in a different way. The deterioration of a value. Let me take you to the chart. The deterioration of a particular value will not only corrupt that value, but it also will corrupt and or damage and or degrade the values that come before it. So since the family value has been so incredibly corrupted, almost to the point of non-existence, and mind you, this is 1965, we still dealing with it in 2023, then the health value and the spiritual value now suffer off of the corruption of the family value. And not only that, the values directly following the corrupted value are also corrupted. So appearance and dwelling are also corrupted and destroyed because of the destruction of the family value. Okay? Are we together so far? Put a 1 in the chat if we together so far. Okay. So when you degrade one value, you automatically start corrupting the values immediately behind it and immediately following. The immediate preceding and the immediate following. So the family value is destroyed to such an extent that health and spirituality suffer. Black women are more unhealthy now than when black men were controlling the narrative of black life and black culture. When we go back to looking at them pictures from 1930s, 40s, 50s, black women, we wasn't a whole lot of fat women. It wasn't a whole lot of fat women. We were well put together. We were slimmer. We were just more well put together. We didn't have as many health issues. And people can say, oh, well, it's the food, it's the this and the that. And those things have their place in this equation. But more so, black women are physically unhealthy. Thank you, 39 Dina. We're physically unhealthy. More now than when men were running the communities. More obesity, more complications from obesity, and a disregard for our physical health. Getting these BBLs after so many studies have been done, so many anecdotal evidences, so many women's experiences coming out and saying, please don't get these BBLs because women are dying. Women are experiencing long-reaching or life-changing negative medical crises due to the complications of getting a BBL, getting it botched, and all of this other type of stuff. Women have lost their life. Women have lost limb. Women have lost functionality of some parts of their body. All of this other type of stuff. Then there's more mental health issues and instability in women. We see more now women who are often their family members, abandoning them, neglecting them, deleting them. They deleting kids. They deleting other women. They deleting men. They deleting everybody. The mental instability is off the chain now. The health is bad. How is that tied to the family. When you don't have any structure or order, when you don't have anything that is bridling your chaos, then it get out of control. At one point, I likened female chaos to a fire. If it is within a structure, it is helpful, it is supportive, it is actually a necessity. Don't control a fire and see what happens. Don't control the fire and see what happens to everything around that fire. Everything gonna get burnt. Period. It's going to be destroyed. Gonna be destroyed. So we got mental instability. Because we've had generations now of women without the stabilizing effect of masculinity, because the family is broken and thus the community is broken. So too many generations of women without the stabilizing effect of masculinity and male energy. Spiritual bankruptcy is rampant. Usually bad health is an indicator of bad spiritual value as well. Those two things tied together. The corruption of one value corrupts the value below it. This is deep. The corruption of a value will corrupt the value following it. When we look back at family, what's the appearance value of black women? What is it? First of all, what's the appearance value of black people in general? And then black women specifically. What is that? Is it good or bad? Thank you, Rashad said, perpetuated by generational curses. Exactly. Black women's appearance is considered good or bad by the general public. Black homes are considered good or bad by the general public. Which one? So the dwelling value is considered bad. Why? Because so many households are led by women with bad appearance, bad family, bad health, and bad spiritual value. So how your dwelling value gonna be good when all four preceding values are bad? And if the first 5 values are bad, how the next 5 gonna be good? While you ponder on that, I want to give you a word from our sponsor. If you are in the Atlanta metropolitan area, or if you have friends and family in the Atlanta metropolitan area, you might actually enjoy this word from our new sponsor. So after these messages, we'll be right back.
Average game truck parties are a virus, but gamer versus gamer is the cure. Gamer versus gamer. Gamer versus gamer. Gamer versus gamer. Gamer versus gamer.
Happy birthday.
Gamer versus gamer. Gamer versus gamer.
Gamer versus gamer. We look forward to treating your child like the most important kid in the world on their birthday.
versus Gamer. Thank you so much for my birthday party.
I absolutely love our new sponsor. And the one main reason that I love our new sponsor is because of the values that the company stands for. The wonderful people at Gamer vs. Gamer really focus on the family value, and more so they focus on fatherhood value. And the fact that even though a lot of times Black fathers are not given the credit that they deserve, we give the credit that they deserve. A lot of times Black men, they are in their children's lives. They are valid. They are active. They do participate in their children's lives. But one thing kind of somewhat shaky sometimes, and that's the birthday planning. And that's because sometimes it can get really, really tedious and really detail oriented and really time consuming to truly plan a really nice birthday party for your child. So oftentimes they'll leave it up to the mom, and then mom gets all the credit for being so wonderful and so smart and so adept at event planning, and the father is kind of left out of that equation as if he didn't have anything to do with it. Well, the solution to that is actually Gamer versus Gamer, because all you got to do, if you're an active dad, all you have to do is give them a call, and they literally take care of the rest. You give them the information. How old is your child? What kind of birthday party do you want them to have? And all of these sorts of things. They show up with a 30-foot trailer that is decked out, that is prepared to give your child that love letter that you wrote to them when you gave Gamer versus Gamer a call. And they take care of everything. They take care of all of the, the decorations and everything, the planning it out, the catering, the food, the cleanup, everything. And so Super Dad gets to have his, his accolades for planning his child's birthday party so intricately and so wonderfully. And the child, most of all, gets to have this wonderful memory that they take with them the rest of their lives. So if you are in the Atlanta metropolitan area, or if you have friends, family, anyone with children whose birthdays coming up, then this is the time that you want to click the link at the top of the chat, gamerversusgamer.com. Go ahead, go to their website, give them a call, speak to them. They're wonderful people, very accommodating, very wonderful, and plan your child's next awesome birthday, okay? Also, let me get to, thank you so much, Roderick, for the very generous contribution. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you, Philip. Said, should I convert to Islam to find a solid sister? If you convert to Islam, please don't do it for a woman. The women will come. The women will come. That's my personal opinion there. Also, I owe y'all a bam, 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 bam. You got to hit the like button. Bam, bam. You got to because we have 407 awesome people who've hit the like button. Let's see if we can get the next 400 people to also hit the like button so we can get right into the algorithm. Okay? All right. So let's get back to everything. All right. So we're talking about the value What I'm trying to express right here, before we continue on with the rest of this chapter, what I'm trying to express here is the importance of the values. They understand this value system. Please know that they understand it. Please know that the so-called powers that be understand the value system, both of them. They understand this. And they understand this. Most importantly, they understand this, because the understanding of the way in which biology, culture, and environment coincide with one another and interact with one another on all of these various different levels of our existence. With this knowledge, they are able to produce changes in each one of these areas that can flip a value system from here to here or back to here. They can do that. This is the key to this knowledge. This is the key to that understanding. Because they understand how a bioculturon actually works, they're able to reset people at will. It isn't magic. Let's take away the mystique. It's not magical. They don't have some astronomical knowledge that nobody can ever have. They really don't. They actually got their understanding of that historically from us. We knew it. So there is no magical white man that knows so much about everything that he can uncover the mysteries of the world and we just gotta follow his lead. That's the mystique that they created about themselves. It's actually not true. That's not true. This is knowledge that we now have. This is knowledge that we now understand. We understand this. Put a 1 in the chat if you understand the ways in which biology, culture, and environment interact with one another, and if you understand how that interaction can actually give rise to a value system one way or the other. Thank you. That is why this is important. That is why this is important. The Moynihan report is important if you know how to read it. If you understand what to get out of it. See, it's not just a report that you read just on the surface. You got to understand how they got to that. Why is the family deteriorated for the Black community? And why are we unable to get it back on track? Why can't we do that? Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much, Stephen. See, that's the other part of this equation. Not only do we understand that the family is deteriorated, now we got to understand, why can't we repair that? What is the blocker that is stopping us from repairing the family so that the other values can be repaired? See, the first thing we got to understand is that that's part of a value system to begin with. The family is a piece. It's a cog in the machine. It is not separated out from the rest of your life. That is the thing that Black people got to understand. We like to compartmentalize everything and think that everything is operating in a vacuum on its own, and it is not. It is integrated and it is operating within a system. Thank you, Uton. Said Sister Davis, some black women may blame black men from her perspective because black men did not fight to keep the family together, upholding black unity and value, knowing what the Europeans did, and so they have a right to rebel against black men. Thank you so much, Uton. And that is the narrative that a lot of black women will fall back on to explain away the contempt and the disrespect and the outright hatred that they have for black men in a historical sense. We not buying that over here because we know better than that. Black men were not approached to destroy the family. Black women were. So black women had a choice to make, and they made it. They made a choice. We're living in the consequences of that choice. You know what I mean? Like, we're living in the consequence of that choice. So any black woman that wants to have that as an argument, we thump that right out of there because it's not really a real argument to have. Thank you, Black Wizard. Hey, sweetheart. So to understand that this is a formula that they can reproduce. Look at what happened in Afghanistan. They destroyed the infrastructure, empowered the regime that supported their views and influenced culture through schooling. Precisely. Thank you for bringing that up, Black Wizard. Thank you so much, because we actually watch Bioculturon events take place all the time, especially when the United States goes places, talked about they spreading democracy. Whenever the next time, or go back into recent history, whenever they've gone into a country talking about they are spreading democracy, they are going to produce a Bioculturon event. See, they don't just go in and replace the governments. That there's a lead up to that. There's a lead up to that. Replacing a government is an environmental change, but they change other things before that. A quick Bioculturon event is a war. That's real fast. That's faster than slavery is fast, because it works in less than a generation. War works immediately as a reset. War is a reset immediately. Thank you, Kuji and Dee. Said, thank you, sister, for doing your part in revealing the truths that dark forces tried so hard to keep hidden away. Thank you so much. So when they talking about, this is why they don't like Afghanistan and the Taliban. They don't like them. Whatever you think of the Taliban or whatever, it's going to be biased anyway, because we only get one side of the news, what the propaganda that they put against them. So since we're not there, we don't know what them people are doing over there, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent. We don't know. But what we do know is there's a reason why they don't like them. It was too difficult to implement a full they couldn't reset their value system. In short, even with a war, they could not do it to the majority of the Afghan people. Couldn't do it. They could not reset their value system because they tried war as a quick way to do so. They always do that in the Middle East too, because war is typically so effective. What war will do will reset a people because it reduces you down to survival. Now you got to think about surviving. In a war, especially if that war is being held on your soil, you're going to face the destruction of your infrastructure and all of the things that make society function properly. Because now you are in war. So every resource is geared towards the survival of the people in that place. food and all of these other things become a primary necessity, leisure and all of the other stuff goes away because we're trying to survive. It is in that state of survival that they try to come in. And remember when Bush used to say, Bush Sr. used to say, we're winning the heart and mind? Remember they used to say that all the time when they were over there fighting and trying to make them people do something else other than what they was doing. We're winning the hearts and minds. That's what they were doing. They were over there destroying stuff environmentally. All the institutions gone. If your country if war is being held on your soil, then that's automatically an environmental shift. Your whole environment is now changed to a point where you're only surviving. Now, in that state, it should be easy to change your biology and your culture now to anything. And that is what they meant by we gotta capture the people's hearts and minds. We have to change them culturally. But before we can change them culturally, we actually have to change them biologically, because their environment is such that their biology is directly affected. This is why, okay, they would send the troops with food. These are the same troops bombing, but then they would also send them with water and food. Why? And they would always approach the women for that. They always approached the women for that. In return for the necessities of food, water, medical attention, these things, the women had to turn in the men. And while there were instances where that was actually happening, there were other instances more so where that was not happening. And so it became impossible to change their biology. If one of the three cannot be changed, a bioculturon event cannot be initiated. I don't care what you do with the other two. Thank you, Professor Carlton. Said the fact that you have the data, the reports, and evidence of how the community was undermined and there is no change in behavior speaks to the knowing betrayal of hyenas, both male and female. Thank you so much. Utan says, Sister Davis playing devil's advocate. Do you as a black woman blame black men for any destruction of the black nuclear family? I don't blame black men for the destruction of the nuclear family. And the reason that I don't blame black men for the destruction of the nuclear family is because that was never their aim. That was never in the culture or in the general mindset of black men to destroy their own family structure, because they understood by and large that the destruction of their family actually destroys them. They know that. They understand that their legacy is dependent upon the actual structure of a family, and that a community could not exist without it. So I can't blame black men, because it was actually black men that were always trying to build it rather than destroy it, even under duress. Right? So that's where that comes from, because black men in general did not see their family as a hindrance to their progression in this country. They actually were dependent upon their families for their progression. So they would not have purposely shot themselves in the foot by shooting black women. They wouldn't have done that, because that would have just been, that wouldn't have served no purpose. Black men didn't get anything. They wouldn't have gotten anything from that. Zaddy did not come to black men with an offer he couldn't refuse. He didn't come to black men for that. So there was no win in that. Surely from that perspective, there was no win for black men to do that. There wasn't an opportunity for black men to gain anything as a result of destroying their family. Thank you, DDEC. I want to go back to the actual report because I really want to actually finish this chapter. The other chapters I skipped. This one is too important. It may be hazarded that the reason family structure does not loom larger in public discussion of social issues is that people tend to assume that the nature of family life is about the same throughout American society. The mass media and the development of suburbia have created an image of the American family as a highly standardized phenomenon. It is therefore easy to assume that whatever it is that makes for differences among individuals or groups of individuals, it is not a different family structure. There is much truth to this. As with any other nation, Americans are producing a recognizable family system, but that process is not complete by any means. There are still, for example, important differences in family patterns surviving from the age of the great European migration to the United States, and these variations account for notable differences in the progress and assimilation of various ethnic and religious groups. That's a lot of report academia, slight academia babble for it's not standardized throughout. Everybody's not having the same experience. A number of immigrant groups were characterized by unusually strong family bonds. These groups have characteristically progressed more rapidly than others. But there is one truly great discontinuity in family structure in the United States at the present time, that between the white world in general and that of the Negro American. The white family has achieved a high degree of stability and is maintaining that stability. By contrast, the family structure of lower class Negroes is highly unstable and in many urban centers is approaching complete breakdown. I gotta come back a little bit. I gotta come back shortly for that. Thank you, Tahir. Said, thank you, Kendra. Love your response regarding blame for family breakup. Thank you so much, beloved. Thank you so much for that contribution, Tahir. And thank you, Frederick. So the devil taught Eve this mess to destroy mankind. Same with white supremacy today. Thank you so much. Here's the thing that I want to say about that. It talked about other groups having unusually strong family bonds. I remember when I talked about Nigerians and other African immigrants coming to America and excelling more than American-born blacks. And I talked about their value system, and I talked about their culture, okay? And certain things that they had intact that Black Americans did not have intact, okay? And a lot of times it was assumed that I meant, or that I thought, that African immigrants were somehow perfect, or somehow better than, or somehow didn't have any of their own intrinsic problems of their own, in their own group, in their own culture, in their own, dynamics. But that really wasn't what I was talking about. One thing that they have that we don't have, even though they have a version of the lost value system that they deal with, their family structure is more intact than ours is. With that, they are able to then create communities. They have a separate value system than we have. Even if their value system is not implemented perfectly, even among them, it's still different than what we as American-born blacks have. They are able to build a community because they build families more often than not. So while other things may play a part, where they get more of this and they able to get that and that may be so. But at the core of it, they are excelling beyond us for the same reason that other demographics, whether they are immigrants or born in America, excel beyond Black people. And that is that family structure is more or less intact, and ours is more not intact. So we can't build communities, and we can't solidify a value system, nor can we solidify a functioning culture that would progress us forward. We can't do it. We can't do it. Because for whatever reason, we still failing to understand how to fix the family. This is where all of this is coming from. Talking to Black women about the betrayal. This is why I'm covering the Moynihan report and why they didn't like it even when the report was done back then. They still don't like it now. They really did a number on Black women's mindsets in general to keep her from ever participating in restructuring or repairing the family. If she don't participate, if she don't participate, it don't get fixed. But what Zaddy never really thought about was Black men doing a workaround and saying, wait a minute, the biological truth is that we hold the key to the race. You are what your father is. So if we go to any other woman, our progeny will be Black. The only thing he got to be careful of is not passing down the lost value system to his children. He got to be careful of not doing that. And the reason why I say he got to be careful about which value system that he passed down is because if he makes the critical mistake of passing down the lost value system, the crisis will repeat itself. Because the problem is with the mindset. So if he happens to have that mindset of it within himself, he'll pass it to his woman, and that woman will pass it to children, and then that vicious destructive cycle actually starts over wherever you see what I'm saying? This is why the value system is so incredibly important in understanding where it comes from and why we have it and what we're supposed to be doing. That's why that's important, because that's why I said there are male hyenas. There are men who deal in the lost value system. They didn't stop procreating. The problem is in the mindset. That's where the problem is. We're going to finish this chapter though. There is considerable evidence that the Negro community is in fact dividing between a stable middle class group that is steadily growing stronger and more successful, and an increasingly disorganized and disadvantaged lower class group. There are indications, for example, that the middle class Negro family puts a higher premium on family stability and the conserving of family resources than does the white middle class family. Let me read that again. There are indications, for example, that the middle class Negro family puts a higher premium on family stability and the conserving of family resources than does the white middle class family. This actually speaks to the question that was asked earlier about whether or not I blame men for the destruction of the nuclear family, and this answers that. When black men were able to do it, this is actually what they did. They had a better handle on their value system than their white counterparts. This is where we got Black Wall Street from. We didn't get it from a bunch of black women. We got it from black men. That is what black men typically did whenever they had any leeway to do it. We didn't start getting a bunch of maggles until we started getting a bunch of single mother homes. That's just the long and short of it. The discussion of this paper is not obviously directed to the first group, excepting as it is affected by the experiences of the second, an important exception. There are 2 points to be noted in this context. First, the emergence and increasing visibility of a Negro middle class may beguile the nation into supposing that the circumstances of the remainder of the Negro community are equally prosperous, whereas just the opposite is true at present and is likely to continue so. See, what it's saying is there was a middle class black, but as the nation began to squeeze out the middle class altogether, middle class black went first. And what we're left with for the vast majority is the black lower class, where all this dysfunction is at. Where all of this dysfunction play out the most is, should I say. Second, the lumping of all Negroes together in one statistical measurement very probably conceals the extent of the disorganization among the lower class group. If conditions are improving for one and deteriorating for the other, the resultant statistical averages might show no change. Further, The statistics on the Negro family and most other subjects treated in this paper refer only to a specific point in time. They are a vertical measure of the situation at a given moment. They do not measure the experiences of individuals over time. Thus, the average monthly unemployment rate for Negro males in 1964 is recorded as 9%. But during 1964, some 29% of Negro males were unemployed at one time or another. Similarly, for example, if 36% of Negro children are living in broken homes at any specific moment, it is likely that a far higher proportion of Negro children find themselves in that situation at one time in their lives. Nearly a quarter of urban Negro marriages are dissolved. See, it was starting in. Nearly a quarter of Negro women living in cities who have ever married are divorced, separated, or living apart from their husbands. The rates are highest in the urban Northeast, where 26% of Negro women ever married are either divorced, separated, or have their husbands absent. On the urban frontier, the proportion of husbands absent is higher. In New York City in 1960, it was 30.2, not including divorces. Not including divorces. What's happening at this time? Entitlement programs. We talked about that yesterday, how they were enforced. Can't have a man around even if you had a man around. Among ever married non-white women in the nation, the proportion with husbands present declines in every age group over the decade 1950 through 60 as follows, no chart. Although similar declines occurred among white females, the proportion of white husbands present never dropped below 90% except for the first and last age group. Nearly a quarter of Negro births are now illegitimate. Both white and Negro illegitimacy rates have been increasing, although from dramatically different bases. White race was 2% in 1940. It was 3.7% in 1963. In that period, the Negro rate went from 16.8 to 23.6. The number of illegitimate children per 1,000 live births increased by 11 among whites in the period of 1940 to 63, but by 68 among non-whites. There are, of course, limits to the dependability of the statistics. There are almost certainly a considerable number of Negro children who, although technically illegitimate, are in fact the offspring of stable union. That's important. There were stable unions. Thank you, Black Wizard, again. Say yes, KD. People have to understand ADOS were taken from differing tribes, denied cultural transmission, and forced into a trauma system violently, so the family could be atomized to best serve the economy. We are a different monster. We are. Thank you, Stardust said Black men have always had a communal mindset. Came from stable unions, but not marriage on the books. And what started keeping Black men and women from getting married on the books? See, it thwarts the narrative that men were actually leaving just because it wasn't on the books. Lot of common law marriages. A lot of common law marriages. A lot of Black men and women decided that to keep the state out of their business. Thank you, Keith. It says, speak truth, beautiful Muslima. Thank you so much. To keep the state out your business. State always in your business. But those common law marriages, without being able to produce a marriage license, actually statistically are going to show up as illegitimate births. And statistically, these women are going to show up legally as single. And so their children are going to legally be illegitimate. So it's not that the men were gone, but they weren't there on paper. So a Black woman could go to the aid office and get welfare and truthfully be able to say she's not married. She got a man living right in the house. He's the father of all them kids. But because there's no marriage license, she can go into an office and say she don't have that. And she don't have it. I don't have a husband. And I don't know where he is. That was real common. I don't know where he is. See, we got to be able to see what we got to be able to see it. Thank you, John. Thank you so much. Got to be able to see. See what we seeing. Read what we reading. We almost done. A similar picture of disintegrating Negro marriages emerges from the divorce stats. Divorces have increased of late for both whites and non-whites, but at a much greater rate for the latter. In 1940, both groups had a divorce rate of 2.2%. By 1964, the white rate had risen to 3.6%, but non-white rates had reached 5.1%, 40% greater than the formerly equal white rate. Almost a fourth of Negro families are headed by females. Almost a fourth of Negro families are headed by females. This is in 1965. Almost a fourth of Negro families are headed by females. As a direct result of this high rate of divorce, separation, and desertion, a very large percent of Negro families are headed by females. While the percentage of such families among whites has been dropping since 1940, it has been rising among Negroes. See, white folk figured it out early. They ain't not going to have this problem. They're not going to tear their family up. You understand that? The percent of non-white families headed by a female is more than double the percent for whites. Fatherless non-white families increased by a sixth between 1950 and 60, but held constant for white families. It has been estimated that only a minority of Negro children reach the age of 18 having lived all their lives with both their parents. Once again, this measure of family disorganization is found to be diminishing among white families, increasing among Negro families. The breakdown of the Negro family has led to a startling increase in welfare dependency. Or is it the other way around? The startling increase in welfare dependency has led to the breakdown of the Negro family. We can read that the other way, right? The majority of Negro children receive public assistance under the AFDC program at one point or another in their childhood. At present, 14% of Negro children are receiving AFDC assistance as against 2% of white children. 8% of white children receive such assistance at some time as against 56% of non-whites, according to extrapolation based on Hugh data. Again, the situation may be said to be worsening. The AFDC program, deriving from the long-established Mother's AIDS program, was established in 1935, principally to care for widows and orphans, although the legislation covered all children in homes deprived of parental support because one or both of their parents are absent or incapacitated. A 1960 study of aid to dependent children in Cook County, that's in Chicago, stated the typical ADC mother in Cook County was married and had children by her husband, who deserted, his whereabouts unknown, and he does not contribute to the support of his children. She is not free to remarry and has an illegitimate child since her husband left. I'm going to come back. Because that verbatim was what a black woman had to say, whether it was true or not, to get aid. If you knew the game as a black woman, you understood that you had to say that script in order to be approved for benefits. Your husband could be sitting right at the house. That illegitimate child that you had after your husband left is your husband's child. Thank you, Utah said Adam was punished by God for not upholding God's law, and because of this, Adam broke the family for generations. Black women blame black men for the same thing. Samuel Jenkins, I am a baby boomer, and I can tell you that I'm experiencing this very thing. Sadly, if Zaddy or Mommy doesn't approve her acceptance of us, it's a wrap. They need their approval badly. Thank you, Edward. Thank you so much. I'm going to share one more thing before we cut it off. Black women are this is as of 2021. Black women are the head of 27% of all black households, still more than a quarter. In 2018, which is more than twice the rate for all women at 12%. These are households defined by the U.S. Census Bureau as having a female head, no spouse present. Only 37% of black women who gave birth were married, which is almost the opposite for all women at 66%. These are some of the issues that factor into a much higher poverty rate of 24% for black women compared to 14% for all women. Household headed by women, black women 27%, all women 12%. Gave birth while married, black women 37%, other women 66%. Live below the poverty line, 24% of black women, 14% of everybody else. These additional responsibilities may also explain why black women are slightly overrepresented in the workforce compared to all women. That was as of like 2020, 2018, between 2018 and 2021. Same stats as the Moynihan report in 1965 or worse. Same stats as 1965 or worse. Public opinion say you can live in public housing if you're married, but the women chose not to because they can't get mad and kick the man out of if his name is on the lease. Thank you so much, public opinion. So I just wanted to, this was part 2. We're going to have a part 3 because we got to get to the root of the problem. That chapter, the root of the problem. Yeah, this is also a lesson in bioculturon. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. I want to thank everyone for their very generous contributions. Thank you so, so much, everyone, for contributing to the show. I greatly appreciate it. Let me see if we've got any cash apps because I want to start shouting those out as well. Thank you, War Machine. Thank you so much for your contribution. And thank you, Robert, as well, for your contribution. Very greatly appreciated, everybody. This is a lot. This is a lot. I'm hoping that y'all are understanding this. In any case, I want to go ahead and draw everybody's attention to the fact that you can pick up your copy of Reclaiming the Black Feminine, The Lies of Feminism and the Road to Recovery, on sale now at crimsoncure.com. You can get your physical copy. You can also get your digital copy from Amazon. A link is also in the description box as well. I might do a quick poll. How many of you actually have Kindle devices? So I might do a quick poll on that because I'm thinking about something. But go ahead and get that copy. Also, like, share, subscribe to the channel, okay, if you have not subscribed to the channel. All right, we are on our way to 100K. That is what we're doing. We're already at 92, so I want to thank everyone who has subscribed already and everyone who shares the videos, okay? All right, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.
Hello, my Crimsonites and all of my supporters. I invite you to go and get your copy of my new book, Reclaiming the Black Feminine, The Lies of Feminism and the Road to Recovery, on sale now at crimsoncure.com. This is guaranteed to change your perspective and positively impact your life. So go ahead now to crimsoncure.com and get your copy today.